inshallah. Okay. Right, so let's continue, inshallah. We're looking at the three fundamental principles of Islam, primarily looking at the work of Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, just using his book as the backbone. And in that, we've got three questions that we are really looking at. And question number one is, who is Allah? The questions of the grave. Question number two is, who is your prophet? And the third is, what is your religion? So each of these questions, we are breaking them down and going into detail on how we are going to, inshallah, answer those questions. We've had a look at various different things and how we can materialize or bring Tawheed into action. That Tawheed is not just a theoretical thing, but Tawheed is manifested in action. And over the last few weeks, I've had a look at a variety of different actions, from khawf, which is the action of the heart, fear; from love, which is an action of the heart; tawakkul, reliance and dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things are manifestations of tawheed. This is how a person really becomes a muwahhid, a person who singles out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all acts of worship. Now, last week, who can remind me what was the topic of last week? What was it that we were looking at that shows us how we can materialize tawheed? What was the topic of last week?
Tawbah.
Tawbah, very good, yeah. So last week we were looking at Tawbah. So this week, let us move on and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us move on and look at the next element. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, should have the text in front of us now. So last week was Tawbah. This week, what we're looking at is al-isti'ana. Okay, if you can make a note of that, al-isti'ana. So the very first word, وَالدَّلِيلُ الْإِسْتِعَانَةِ. Okay, so that's the word here. Where's my pen? Okay. Okay, that word there, al-isti'ana. Now, isti'ana, let's look at this word linguistically before we move on to its meaning. So for the Arabic students, you can draw some benefits here. The al-isti'ana coming from a'ana, okay, or a'ana, to help, to assist. When you put the word on the Form 10 template, which is istaf'ala, it means to seek help. So al-isti'ana is to seek assistance or to seek help. So make a note of that. Okay. To seek assistance or to seek help. And that is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ultimately, al-isti'ana should be with Allah. So dalil al-isti'ana, okay. So dalil al-isti'ana, so the proof of this is very simple. Read this in Surah Al-Fatiha. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. In that we only worship you and we only seek your assistance. Now, we're going to break this ayah down in more detail, but to show that this is an element of Tawheed and to show that this is a way in which we single out Allah in our ibadah, in this verse that we've just seen, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, in this, Allah, He says or informs us that only Allah, na'budu, that we worship. Okay? It is only Allah who we worship. And we've explained this ayah multiple times that by bringing the iyaka at the beginning of the sentence, that means only. Yeah, that's one of the Arabic ways to show only. So iyaka na'budu, that only, yeah, we only worship Allah, no other deity. Because with this way of speaking, iyaka na'budu, that puts a full stop after the na'budu, and we cannot add any more maf'ul bihi, no more objects. Whereas if it was taking the normal structure, na'buduka, right? You can say we worship you and the sun and the moon and Jesus and linguistically you can keep writing the and. So Allah Almighty is informing us even through the language that there's only one God. And he is the one who's deserved of all of our worship, our submission. So we get that just from the language by bringing the iyaka to the beginning, that gives the meaning of only. So that's the first thing. We only worship Allah. Okay, we only worship Allah. Now, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us in this Surah Al-Fatiha, after Allah Almighty gives us our ghaya, our goal, our objective, that is worshipping only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah then doesn't just leave us with a goal. Okay? Allah then gives us the strategy or the way in which we can achieve that goal. How? Because He says, وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And this, if you really break this down, it's a very deep point. In that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, doesn't just leave you goalless. He gives us a goal, He gives us a purpose. And then because He gives us a goal, He doesn't just leave us without a mission. He doesn't just leave us without a strategy. Because a goal without a strategy is used, how you're going to get there. So He gives us a goal and He gives us the means, the wasila, how to get there. And that is by mentioning here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, that only Allah we seek our help from. So this is one of the ways in which we do what? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, that we worship only Allah. So this is proof that the isti'ana is a way of manifesting your tawheed. So very important point. So next time you recite Al-Fatiha, you can appreciate that point. That number one, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, that we only worship one God. We only have one God and we only worship Allah Almighty. And the way to get to Allah, there are ways in which we can make sure or we can manifest this tawheed in reality is by only seeking His assistance, only seeking His help. Okay, we'll break that down even further, but let's look at the text. وَفِي الْحَدِيثِ, okay, and we've got a verse of the Quran, and we're also going to take a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ as well, that the teaching of the Prophet is إِذْ اسْتَعَنْتَ, that if you are going to seek assistance, okay, if you are going to seek assistance or help, فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, then seek the aid and the assistance only of Allah. Okay, only Allah Almighty can help you. Now, sure, you've got lots of questions. Let us go through the text and then we will understand how we understand. So, al-isti'ana talab al-aun wa hiya anwa'. So the al-isti'ana, the word is to seek help and to seek assistance. Now, seeking help and assistance is of different types and of different levels. So let's have a look. Which type of seeking help is this ayah referring to? Because I could ask you a help for something, and you can ask somebody's help for something. So which of those is this verse referring to? So al-awwal, the first of those, الاستعانة بالله وهي الاستعانة المتضمنة لكمال ذل من العبد لرب. Number one, so make a note of this, that الاستعانة is inclusive of a person becoming totally submissive to Allah. So الاستعانة means a person totally submits themselves to Allah, وتفويض الأمر إليه, and that you totally leave your affair in the hand of Allah. You know that Allah is the only one who can help you in this. Allah is the only one who can assist you in this. So you trust in Allah that He is going to aid you and assist you. وَإِتِقَادْ كِفَايَتِهِ وَهَذِي لَا تَكُونُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. And knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient for you, that Allah will help you and Allah will suffice in your affairs. And the proof is إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Okay? And the rest of the text goes into exactly what was mentioned there. So the first type, al-isti'ana, is seeking Allah's help in those matters that only Allah can help you in. Okay, so only the things that Allah can assist you in, you only allow to depend upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you need Allah's help in whatever problem you've got in life, in whatever situation you've got in life, and you know this is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can aid you or assist you, then you put your trust in Allah Almighty. That is the isti'ana. Putting your trust in other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be considered to be shirk. So if you need assistance in, I don't know, you've got an exam, right? You put your trust in Allah. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance and aid that you pass that exam, not in something else, in a good luck charm or in a person or in a dead person or something like that. No. Okay, you put your trust purely because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help you in this. So that is the isti'ana. The second type, al-isti'ana, is bil makhluq, is when you seek the aid and the assistance of people. على أمر يقدر عليه فهذه على حسب المستعان عليه. So the second type of isti'ana is seeking assistance from human beings where they're able to help you, and that is absolutely fine. Not just fine, but in many cases, it's actually praised in the Quran that you should do so. Okay? Yeah, so you should الاستعانة بالمخلوق, that you should seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in those matters in which people can help you. And the proof of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Allah Almighty says, and seek assistance, okay, amongst yourselves upon righteousness and goodness. So you are allowed to depend on
Sorry,
people.
Sheikh. Ayah number?
Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 2. Okay, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 2. So that says, تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. So this is al-awn, the same word. So when it comes to seeking help, there are things that only belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, you want assistance in life or your whatever it is, whatever problems you're going through, or even if it's something only Allah can grant you, then those things you have to only seek Allah's help, not a dead person, not a grave, not a good luck charm, not superstitions, not things like you have to depend pure. Only Allah can give you those things, and that's the isti'anah. But where it comes to seeking people's help, you need to borrow some money, or you want to do a dawah project, you want to aid the orphans, you want to do something for the people of Gaza, for Syria, all of this is permissible, and not just permissible, in some cases, an obligation. And then the other side is التعاون على الإثم والعدوان. So in Surah Al-Ma'idah in verse number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. But don't seek each other's help and each other's assistance in doing wrongdoing, in committing a sin, in making Allah angry, in lying, in cheating, in stealing, in backbiting. Don't come together and aid each other in doing that wrong thing. So تعاون على البر والتقوى ولا تعاون على الإثم والعدوان. So we come from those ayats, we come to understand that there is a level of assistance from human beings that is allowed. Okay, and likewise the evil things are not allowed. No? Okay. So then the third, الاستعانة بمخلوق حي حاضر غير قادر فهذه اللغو. So the third type the Sheikh says is that if you seek the assistance of a person, the person is alive, okay, so it's not shirk, right? The person is alive, they're present, but they're unable to do what you've asked them to do, but yet you seek their assistance. The Sheikh says this is laghu, this is just a waste of time. So there's not a sin, but it's just a waste. You know the person in front, you can't give you what you want, yet you're asking that person for it. There's a waste of time. Yeah? An example of that, maybe you ask somebody if you can borrow some money. They don't have the money to give. You know they don't have it, yet you still ask. So that would be just a waste. That's low. So that wouldn't be considered to be shirk. Notice how the shirk said hayy, meaning alive. That if the person was dead, that would be shirk. Right? Hadir. Yeah, notice hadir. What does hadir mean again? Hadir means the person's there. So a person may be alive, but they might not be in front of you. They may be in the same country or in a different country, but they're there. You can pick up the phone, you can talk to them, right? Whereas if somebody's dead and you seek their help or their assistance in something, that would be shirk. And even if somebody is alive, but they can't hear you and you call upon them, right? That's also shirk. So let's say there is a holy man somewhere, okay? Let's pick a country. Let's say it's in Egypt, yeah, holy man in Egypt, and you're sitting here in the UK and you start asking him to help you for whatever help you need, even though he's alive. But how is it to hear you? He can't hear you. The only one entity that has the ability to hear all things is Allah. So you're given that quality of as-sami', taking it from Allah and giving it to this Maulana or the Sheikh or whatever he is, which is shirk. So if the person is alive, no problem. If you want to ask them for help, there's no problem, as long as it's not a shirky issue. And likewise, if the person is hadir, meaning you are talking to them, you're not just talking to this guy. So this is also something. But so the Sheikh mentions that as the third form of الاستعانة. Then the Sheikh says الاستعانة بالأموات مطلقا وبالأحياء على أمر غائب لا يقدرون عليه مباشرته فهذا الشرك. So the Sheikh then says, then the الاستعانة, if you're seeking the assistance of dead people, okay, if you're seeking the assistance of dead people, this is shirk. Okay, and we have to be very clear with that. So we'll hear, for example, some people will call, they'll say, Ya Abdul Qadir al-Jalani, or they will say, Ya Ali Madad, yeah, or they will say, even some say, Ya Muhammad, right? and they will call upon them in hope that they're going to listen to them and answer their du'as. That is shirk. Because that is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's all hearing. All human beings, and those that I mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ, Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, Abu Qadir al-Jawlani rahmallah, all of these people, we respect and honor them. Of course, Prophet ﷺ is Sayyid al-Mursaleen. He's the leader of the believers, no doubt about it. But we don't exaggerate. By exaggerating doesn't mean you love them more. As a matter of fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, don't exaggerate in your love for me in the same way in which the Christians exaggerated the love for Isa alayhi salam. Look what they ended up doing. Don't exaggerate. Right? Otherwise, we'll fall into danger. Likewise, when they come to another segment or group of people that say, Ya Ali Madad, right? They're calling upon Ali to do madad, to help them. Madad is isti'ana, same thing. You can't do that. Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, with our great respect and love for him, we honor him and respect him, but he doesn't have the ability to help you. He is not God. He's a human being. He's noble, Ashar al-Bashar bil-Jannah. We love and honor him, and he is from the family of the Prophet ﷺ, and he's one of the 10 guaranteed paradise, and we name our children after Ali. We have no problem with that. But to exaggerate and say that he is going to help you in something, this is not Islam. This is not Tawheed. This is shirk. So this is what the Shaykh is saying, that we are not allowed to seek the help or the aid or the assistance of the dead. Okay? Or we're not allowed, even if somebody's alive, but they don't have the ability, we cannot seek their assistance or help. Okay? Somebody wants to have children, for example, and struggling to have children, so they they ask a dead person, or they ask a person to go to a human being and they say, do something for us so that we can have children. No. In this situation, the only one who can help you is Allah. So you don't need to turn to anyone except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, good. الخامس, the fifth, الاستعانة بالأعمال والأحوال المحبوبة إلى الله تعالى وهذه مشروعة بأمر الله تعالى في قوله استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة. Now this is a very important point, is that al-isti'ana, seeking the help and the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the praised ways of doing that is by your good deeds. By seeking the help and the assistance of Allah is by doing more good deeds, or by even recalling your good deeds. So doing good is a way of seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance. Okay, so here, الأعمال والأحوال المحبوبة إلى الله. For example, Allah says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا, and seek help and seek assistance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with two actions. What are those two actions? As-salah, your prayer, and sabr. Those two things, you do that and you will increase in your dependency and in your trust and in your help in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're allowed to depend on your sabr and you're allowed to depend on your salah. Okay? And these things, your good deeds will aid you and assist you in your du'as coming true and in seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance. Okay, good. وقد استدل المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى للنوع الأول بقوله. So the Shaykh, what he's saying is that the type of isti'ana that we are talking about is the first one. Okay? That the matters that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can aid and assist you in, only those things we're allowed to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in, and not anywhere else. Anything other than that, where human beings can help you out, there's no problem with that. But other than that, those things that are exclusive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is what we are talking about. Okay? Those are the things that we are referring to. So I hope those are the 5 matters when it comes to al-isti'ana. Okay, so
Ustadh,
sure.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
In the famous hadith of the 3 men who were trapped in the cave, and then they did dua and they mentioned good deeds, was that a type of isti'ana?
You can
what
say
is that called?
Yeah, you can say that. That's a type of wasila or a type of isti'ana. That's absolutely fine. In which the 3 men that were trapped inside the cave, each one of them made dua to Allah, seeking Allah's help. Okay, which is al-isti'ana, seeking Allah's help. And they mentioned a good deed that they did, and they did it sincerely for the sake of Allah. And through that, the rock moved ever so slightly until it moved such the 3 could come out of the cave. Okay, so that is isti'ana. Good. So that is isti'ana. Then, okay, so we finished with that, with al-isti'ana. So I hope you made a note of that. I've lost my numbering, but I'm sure you've got your numbering. So these are the different ways in which we can manifest our tawheed. So when we're asking a grave, man rabbuk, if we truly had isti'ana with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll be able to say, Allah, it was Allah who I relied upon. It was Allah who I sought his help. It was Allah who I knew could take me out of my difficulty. So I'd help you to Allah. Now, the next thing, the following matter, which helps us in our tawheed, is what dalilul al-isti'adha. Okay, al-isti'adha. Now, sounds similar to the first one, but this is al-isti'adha. Aadha yu'udhu. Aadha yu'udhu is from laja'a, which means to seek refuge. Okay, to seek refuge in something. For example, like a refugee. Yeah, laji'. A refugee is doing what? Is running away from their country or from their difficulties and seeking to better their situation by seeking someone else's help, see someone else's protection away from the harm. So they're leaving a dangerous country and coming to a safer place. That is what is known as al-isti'adha, that you're seeking the protection of Allah from something. Okay, so seeking protection from who? You can only seek protection from Allah. You can't seek protection from a black string or from a crow or I don't know what crazy things people believe in, but horoscopes, superstitions, whatever it is, that if you feel you need protection from something, the only place, direction that a Muslim turns to is that we run towards Allah. We seek his protection. We don't go anywhere else. We don't ask for anyone else's protection because that would be shirk. So the Shaykh is making mention here that we do that. And then to prove that further, he brings two verses to show. Number one is Surah Al-Falaq. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Yeah, say, I seek the protection of the Lord of the Falaq, the dawn break. Okay, I seek the protection of the one who brings about the sunrise. So that's talking about Allah. Likewise, in Surah An-Nas, yeah, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Say, I seek the protection of the Lord of all people, of all of mankind. So al-isti'adha here, that we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us have a look what the Shaykh says here. Al-isti'anatu talab al-i'adha wa i'adatu al-hamaya min makruh. So he says that al-isti'adha is seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from those things that are harmful. Okay, those things that are harmful, and to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he breaks these down. Number one, al-isti'adhatu billah ta'ala wa hiya al-mutadammina li kamal al-iftiqar ilayhi wal i'tisam bihi. So al-isti'adha, number one, he's just saying that it is that a person completely is dependent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wal i'tisam bihi, and he clings and holds on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa i'tiqad kifayatihi wa tamam himayatihi min kulli shay'. That he believes with conviction that only Allah can protect him or her, that only Allah can take him out of these difficulties, that only Allah can push away harm. So he has that firm belief. And then he mentions the proofs there. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. And so قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ from what? مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. So we are running to the Lord of the dawnbreak. So basically we are running to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what are we running away from? Okay, so there's a to and a from. So we are running to Allah, and what we're running from, we are we are running min sharri ma khalaq. We are running away from the evil of human beings. Yeah, from creation, primarily human beings. And subhanAllah, when you look at the ayah and you just stop for a second and think about it, much of the evil that we see on the earth, and not much, all is coming from the hands of human beings. And we ask Allah's protection from that, from the genocides, from rape, from killing, from torture, from war. Who's responsible for all of that? Man. Yeah, man is the one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيَ النَّاسِ. Corruption and evil has spread on this earth because of what you done with your hands. Don't blame Allah. It's you. You are the ones who brought about a unjust economical system based on interest. You are the ones who are killing each other for money, for oil. You are the ones who are oppressing and raping and torturing. It's you. Okay. So here we find قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. I say, oh Allah, we seek the protection of Allah from the evil things that are out there. From the evil things that are out there. And subhanAllah, sometimes I gave the examples of war and so on and so forth, but sometimes the harm could be much closer than that. Sometimes the harm could be your next door neighbor. Sometimes the harm could be from a family member. Could be from someone doing magic, sihr. That usually sihr is done by a relative. So we ask Allah, min sharri ma khalaq. Oh Allah, we are running away from all these bad things, and the only one who can protect us from war and killing and torture and magic and all these things is you. Likewise to the end of the surah. Then قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. We seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. Malik al-Nas, Allah is the Lord of all human beings. Wa ilahin nas is the Lord of the people. Min sharril waswasil khannas. In this, what are we running away? We're running to Allah, but we're running away from what? We're running away from min sharril waswasil khannas. We are running away from the whispering of the devils. So in the first ayah, it's actually physical things that are coming towards you that you're running away from. But the waswas are what? The things that are in your own head. And that's really something important for us to just stop and ponder. That the waswas are these whisperings, there are thoughts, temptations that are in our head. And we need to run away from the thoughts that are in our head. But where do we run to? We run to Allah. Our mind, our nafs, can sometimes take us in a very dangerous place. That's why to control the mind is a great skill. Very hard to do, but to control the mind and to remain positive, to remain firm is a great blessing from Allah. And likewise, the nafs itself. We find in the Quran, that the Imra'atu Aziz, who tried to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam, she herself, she said, she blamed what? Ammaratu bis-su', that the soul is inclining to su'. He wants to do evil. She's like, I lost control. He was so handsome. Yusuf alayhi salam was so handsome. And he was always walking past me because he was a servant in the castle. And she said, I lost control. She wasn't a bad person. She just, on that particular thing, she lost control. Right? So sometimes we have to seek the protection of Allah from our own selves, from our own thoughts. We may think someone is doing some harm. Someone is doing something bad, but they're not doing something bad. You may think evil or bad of a person, but they're not actually bad. They're actually all right. So sometimes we have to even say, oh Allah, help me with my own self. Okay, and subhanAllah, now we find this in modern.
Just a sheikh, like, the Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, then he think he is all, so many Islamic countries, Islam spreading, and he was thinking, Umar, you are Amirul Mu'mineen. And then he called the people and he took the member head and he said, the Umar is who? He was used to look after my aunt's goats. And I get up, a handful of dates and I use it. Then the Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu ran to him and asked, what you did, Amirul Mu'mineen? He said, my nafs is not, nafs is said to me, I am the Amirul Mu'mineen, so I want to teach my nafs something. So even the Umar radiallahu anhu, he is the best of the one, but we are really.
Yeah, thank you, Auntie. So there we go. So even here, the topic we're looking at is al-isti'adha, that we seek protection from Allah, from the physical things that are around us, because only Allah can protect us, and we seek Allah's protection from our own self. That there are two doorways, and make a note of this, there are two doorways that shaitan, he causes people to go astray. The first of those is doubt. When you got doubts here about Islam, and you don't cure those doubts, and what's the way of curing doubts? Who can tell me, right? So if you got doubts and you don't sort those doubts out, shaitan going to lead you astray. You're going to start doubting Islam, start doubting Allah. Why me? Yeah, you'll start doubting Allah. It's dangerous. The second way that shaitan manages to cause people to go astray is through shahawat, your desires, your love for money, your love for fame, your love to be liked, your love for people following you, your love for women, your love for men, whatever it is, your whatever love that you have, desires. If you don't control your desires, shaitan will lead you astray. Doubt and desires. And both of those two hit something very deeply psychological. They're both connected. You may ask, how are they connected? They are connected because your desires are connected to doubt. And I'll explain how. When a person loses control in their desires and starts following their desires, and they're enjoying those desires, they need to then eventually they have to make a choice. Either they have to leave those desires, or if they want to continue, they have to justify to themselves about these desires. And when a person justifies those desires, he will start to doubt the Quran. Why did Allah say that when I'm not really doing anything wrong? Yeah. So take the example. I'm going to give you a wild example, but I'm sure you can think of better ones. Let's say there's a person who's got homosexual tendencies. He knows it's haram, but he starts to incline that way, and then he starts to practice that way. And he's doing it, or she's doing it. And he knows it's haram. And then they say they're in love with their partner of the same gender. Now, after a little while, this person will start questioning, so I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I've done nothing wrong. I work, I look after my family, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever it is. I'm a good person, so I just fell in love with the same gender. What's the problem? Then what they'll end up doing is justifying their actions through the Quran, either by saying that the Quran is outdated, or they will say that, look, if we look at these verses in this way, it actually justifies homosexuality. So you've gone astray. So doubt and desire are not independent. Remember, they are connected, and both of those are the doorways of shaitan to ruin you. And both of those, number one, the one you need to cure first, of course, desire. We all know that we need to control our desires. The doubt is the most important. Okay, and the way to cure doubt, as I asked the question, the way to cure a person's doubts in their minds by learning. Humble yourself and learn. Okay, don't think I'm too old now, I can't learn. No, don't think like, who's this teacher? He's half my age. Why should I listen to him or her? No, if something is being told, you should listen and learn, and that goes to all of us. So, doubt, remove the doubt. So, al-isti'adha, so let's come to that. So, that's the first thing that we should have, al-isti'adha, that when we are in trouble, okay. When we are in trouble, that we should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who protect us. So likewise, al-isti'adhatu bi sifa min sifatihi ka kalamihi wa uzmatihi wa izzatihi wa nahwi dhalika wa dhilqa. So there are different ways in which we can seek Allah's protection. For example, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. So we have different types of du'as that we can read that will protect us from the whatever it is that we're concerned with. So that's that one. Okay. الثالث الاستعاذة بالأموات وبالأحياء غير حاضرين القادرين على العوض فهذا الشرك. So of course here comes the dangerous one. So this is the opposite, that the person will seek refuge. They will seek assistance in dead people. Right? So if they're in danger of something, instead of turning to Allah for help, they will turn to something else. They will turn to, I don't know, a grave, or they will turn to a item that they have in their house or something, or a stone, and think it's going to protect them. Okay, you might think this is crazy. Who would ever do that? But subhanAllah, many Muslims do. There are still Muslims that wear these, what do they call them? They wear these things, amulets around their necks and around their arm. If you say, why are you wearing that? Say, it protects me. A'udhu billah. The isti'adha billah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if you feel fear, turn to Allah. What is that thing going to do around your neck? Or the thing that you're wearing around your arm, or that stone that you may be carrying, or whatever it is, good luck charm, bad luck charm. This is all shirk billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is only Allah who can protect you. So we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So this is tawheed.
May I ask a question, Ustadh?
Sure.
What should we say to somebody who is wearing something like that, right? But when we say that it's shirk, you should take it off, depend on Allah, do dua to Allah, ask for help from Allah, etc. then they'll make some excuse like, well, my mother put it around my neck, or my grandmother put it around my neck, or something like that, and I'm not going to take it off because it's a memento of my mother or my grandmother or whoever.
So I mean, yeah,
I'm not guilty of that sin. They put it around my neck, that sort of thing.
yeah. I mean, look, we can't pass the blame onto somebody else. Each one of us are responsible for our own actions. And I know people do say that, but we don't need to we can't pass the responsibility to somebody. You are لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Yeah. So Allah does not burden us all more than He can handle. Each one of us are responsible for our own actions. We are responsible for our own actions. So if somebody does say that, you ask the person logically, what does it do to you? Does it help you, and how does it help you? Try to break it down to them. Avoid using the word shirk at the beginning, and just try to intellectually talk to them about what it is that it does. I remember even when I was at university in London, there was somebody who had one of those. And after long conversations, that he finally convinced himself, he took it off. And the thing inside, we sat down and we actually opened it. And, I must say, we were actually a bit worried, a bit scared. We don't know what we were going to find. But we opened it, and what we found inside, subhanAllah, was actually worrying. There was a piece of paper in there with squares and numbers and all these things, which is another sign of sihr. So the very thing that a person was wearing, thinking it's going to protect them, the person who gave it to them was actually doing sihr, was even worse. So he took it out and we threw it away. But subhanAllah, after a few days, he came back looking for it because he said, my mom's going to kill me. I need it back. But alhamdulillah, it was too late.
They said, Sheikh, something.
Yeah.
Because, then we find something like this. We're not allowed to straight away, say to them. We first make a relation with them, that few relation, and then, slowly find out.
Yes.
And with the hikmah to tell them, not straight away, take off this one, this is a shirk.
Yes.
Because the people are very offended really this way.
Yes.
Unless we make a relation with them properly, and just then we will start, then it's more easy for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says himself, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil
Convince them,
hikmah."
then easily.
Absolutely.
Inshallah.
Absolutely, very good. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah maw'idati al-hasana wa jadilhum billati hiya ahsan." So when it comes to the kuffar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is deal with them with wisdom, kindness, and don't argue with them. So therefore, when you're talking to Muslims, it should be even more gentle, but intellectual discussions, and hopefully they will come to understand what they're doing. Now, in the latter part of the class, inshallah, when we talk about al-isti'adha, we've done with the text. I just want to add some addition. When we talk about isti'adha, the Quran and the Sunnah actually informs us of certain times and certain places in where the isti'adha is recommended. So if you've got pen and paper, you can make a note of these. The first of those you find in Surah An-Nahl, verse number 98, and we're all aware of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So the first one of those is obvious when we're reading Quran. So before you open up the Quran, or before you start reciting the Quran, one should say, أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And why? Because we are, so this is the other thing, that we are seeking the protection of Allah from who? From shaitan. Because fundamentally, evil is coming from the shaitan. So whenever we have, whether it's our desires, whether it's our doubts, whatever it is, it's all the handiwork of the shaitan. So isti'adha fundamentally is seeking the protection of Allah from the shaitan. Okay? From the shaitan. And the shaitan himself, the word shaitan, the word shatana, it means to be far away. Yeah, far away from what? Far away from Allah's mercy. Yeah, to be far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And that's why not just the fact that he is shaitan, but he's shaitan al-rajim, which means that he's not just far away, he's been thrown even further away. Further away from what? Further away from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So
Ustadh,
no.
what was the ayah number again? Surah An-Nahl?
98.
Thank you, Ustadh.
98. So here we find that shaitan literally means the one that has been thrown furthest away from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? The one who has been thrown furthest away from the mercy of Allah. So shaitan. And shaitan, this is additional information, shaitan, the word shaitan is a common noun. It's a name of a group of things. So shaitan is used in the Quran, and we also find shayateen, plural. So there's not one shaitan. Shaitan is a group. Okay, shaitan and shayateen. And what's interesting in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us shayatinul insi wal jinn, that the shaitan is not just jinn. There are human beings that walk in amongst us that are devils. Yeah, there are devils. There are those that can easily kill babies and go to sleep at night. They're devils. Yeah, these are nothing short than devils. And Allah says that we seek protection. We want to pray from the shayateen al-insi wal jinn. We seek protection of the devils from amongst the human beings and the devils from amongst the jinn. And shaitan is given that name, but the proper noun for shaitan, like his actual name is Iblis. Okay, Iblis is his actual name. That's what's on his birth certificate, Iblis. Okay, so there's no plural for that, and there's no smaller versions of that. It's just Iblis. But shaitan is the name of that category, and that's where shayateen, yeah, many other types of shaitan. Okay, good. So the first type, I hope you made note of that, is that shaitan, we seek Allah's protection when we recite the Quran. Okay, when we initially open it. Why? Because we want to focus, we want to learn, we want to remove these negative thoughts that are coming to us. So we ask Allah, Allah protect me from, I know, as soon as I open this Quran, I know for a fact shaitan going to come at me at full force. He's going to tell me that you need to go do shopping. He'll tell me you need to go cook. He's going to tell me that I need to send that email. He's going to tell me that you're a bit sleepy, why don't you rest and then read Quran later. All the excuses are going to come. That's why I'm going to start by saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, and I'm going to read. So the first one is that. So number two, okay, number two is in the husul and nazgh min ash-shaitan. So the number two is when you fear the temptations of the shaitan. In any circumstance, if you feel that shaitan is messing with your head, messing with your heart, messing with your desires, then you seek Allah's protection from that. Okay? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-A'raf, verse number 200, Allah He says, وَإِمَّا يَنزِغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. That imma yanzighannaka, that shaitan, when he tries to put his whisperings upon you, nazghun, he's trying to pull you away, he's trying to mess about with you. Fasta'idh billah. Okay, it's just a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And a classical one of those is when it's prayer time. Okay, I'm sure everyone's experienced that. When you know you've got to pray and you're ready to pray, but then you say, oh, 5 minutes. You say, oh, I haven't got wudu, I'll do it a little later. Let me finish this work. Yeah, and that's shaitan, right? He's making you delay, making you procrastinate, delay until you get to the late time for the prayer and the dislike time. And then when you're in that dislike time, then he'll start saying, you know what, you've missed it now. You might as well just do qada. Just wait and just do qada. And then you do qada. That was shaitan. That was nazghun min ash-shaitan. That was him messing with your head. So if you get those thoughts, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, and you get up and you do what you got to do. Okay? Or you don't do what he's tempting you to do. So number one, we seek Allah's protection when we open the Quran to recite the Quran. And number two is when we get any kind of inclinations or temptations from the shaitan in any way, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Okay? Number three is the whisperings in general. Any type of whispering from shaitan, that we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. Okay. For example, in a hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he informs us that حديث عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يأتي الشيطان أحدكم, shaitan comes to us and he starts asking you questions. He makes you ask questions and you start asking these questions. He makes you ask من خلق هذا. Yeah? You'd ask the question, who created the sun? And then you'd answer. You say, well, but who created the moon? And you start asking, من خلق هذا, من خلق هذا, until you eventually go to the question. You say, من خلق ربك, who created your Lord? All right, you would go to that extent. فإذا بلغه فاستعذ بالله. The Prophet ﷺ said, if that thought comes to mind, you've gone that far in your thought, say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. That's shaitan again playing games with you. Okay, so seek Allah's protection even when we come to these evil questions, yeah? Questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number four, the fourth is when shaitan, he messes about with us inside the salah. Okay, not just prior to the salah, but when we get in the prayer, and we've all experienced that as well. When you're inside the prayer, you remember everything. You get distracted. You don't know what rak'ah you're in. You don't know what surah you're reading. You don't know what the imam is reading. You don't even know where you're standing. Right? Shaitan makes you so confused. So in that particular time, that one should seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're in salah and you get distracted, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, and you symbolically spit 3 times and you carry on with your prayer. Shaitan is trying to make you lose your ajr. Okay, we have a hadith عن عثمان ابن أبي عاص رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه أتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. This Sahabi Uthman, he came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا رسول الله إن الشيطان قد حال بيني وبين الصلاة وقراءتي. He said, every time I pray and read, the shaitan keeps messing about with me. I can't concentrate. I don't know what's being said. يلبسها علي فقال, he said, he confuses me. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then the Prophet responded, ذاك الشيطان. He said, this confusion that you're having is from shaitan. يقال له خنزب فإذا أحسسته فتعوذ بالله منه. So they say, so if you feel that whispering or that confusion within you inside the prayer, then seek Allah's protection and continue with your prayer. Okay. Number 5. The 5th point at which we should seek Allah's protection is in the ghadab. Yeah, when a person gets angry. When a person's temper starts to go and you're starting to lose control of yourself, then you should say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem and seek control. Yeah. In the ghadab. فقد أخرج البخاري ومسلم إن سليمان بن عرض رضي الله تعالى عنه قال استعب رجلان عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ونحن عنده جلوس أحدهما يسب صاحبه مغضبا قد احمر وجهه فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إني لأعلم كلمة لو قالها لذهب عنه ما يجد. So 2 men in front of the Prophet started to argue, and they started to become angry until the point one person's face became red. Then the Prophet stepped in. He said, let me tell you a few words that if you say them, you will be calm and you'll be fine. And they asked me, Ya Rasulullah, what is that? He said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Okay, so when you get angry, you should not continue your conversation or continue your saying. Stop, take a break, okay, and say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem and cool down. Because as the Prophet ﷺ also informed us, that shaitan, he runs in the body of man like his blood. Okay, so when you get angry, he's in control. Okay, he's in control. And most people, they make mistakes when they are angry. Yeah, divorces or problems or fights usually occur when a person is angry and they lose control. So much so that some scholars even say that some people, that shaitan, when you lose control, if you're so angry, you lose control, you do things that you wouldn't normally do. And even psychologically speaking, that many criminals who have committed great acts of crime, of killing and so on and so forth, when they were asked, what made you do that? Why did you do what you did? They said, I don't know what came over me. Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I lost control. I don't know what came over me. Well, we know what came over you. It was shaitan. Yeah? We know exactly what happened. You became so angry, you lost control of yourself, and you became the slave of shaitan. And shaitan then got you to do what you did because you lost complete control. So when the person gets angry, a person should also just say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem and just cool down. Yeah, and if a person says A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem and is still not having the full impact, then the Prophet ﷺ said, change your position. Still not having impact, then go make wudu, wash, cool down, and so on and so forth. Okay.
Ustadh,
Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the hadith you just quoted about the 2 men fighting in the mosque.
Yeah.
What was the name of the Sahabi who narrated that hadith?
فقد أخرج البخاري ومسلم عن سليمان ابن سرد.
Sort. I thought so. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, the next one, when we should seek the protection of Allah is عند دخول المسجد. That when we enter into the masjid, we should also seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. That we're entering into the masjid, so any devilish thoughts that we have, we kick them out and we enter into the masjid with a clean mind. That's why we read the dua, Allahumma ftah li abwaba rahmatik. Yeah, that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection, that we enter into the masjid. وَإِذَا خَرَجَ فَلْيُسَلِّمْ عَلَى النَّبِي. When the person exits, he should send his salam upon the Prophet ﷺ. وَلْيَقُلْ اللَّهُمَّ أَعْصِمْنِي مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So as you're leaving as well, you should leave the mosque by sending salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ and also ask Allah to protect you from shaitan, because now you're leaving the mosque. and you're going back to the outside world. Okay. Likewise, the next one on the list is inda nuzul al-manzil, when a person leaves their house. Just generally, when a person leaves their house and goes out wherever they're going, a person again should seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan. Yeah. من نزل منزلا ثم قال, a person who leaves their house and goes now, a person who leaves their house and goes out, then this person should say, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. That person should say, I seek the protection of Allah from the evil of what is out there. Okay. Likewise, the next one, number 9 or number 10, the next time a person should seek the protection of Allah is in the dukhul al-khala, is when a person enters the bathroom. Okay, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from the devils that are in the bathroom. Okay, so one thing that we also know from the prophetic teachings is that these devils, the harmful ones, they like dirty places. Okay, so that is why they're in the bathroom. So that's also an encouragement for us to be more clean. And when you do go to the bathroom or places like that, you should be quick. You should do what you got to do and come out. Don't need to be there for longer than what's not needed. No. Right. The next one, a person should seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. عندما يجد الإنسان وجعا في جسده, when a person feels harm in their body. If they're feeling any kind of pain in their body, the first thing a person should do is they should seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. The Prophet ﷺ said, ضع يدك على الذي يؤلم من جسدك, that put your hand on the place in where you're feeling that pain, وقل, and say Bismillah ثلاثا, say Bismillah 3 times, وقل وقل 7 مرات, and then say 7 times أعوذ بالله وقدرته من شر ما أجد وأحاذر. Okay, that person recites 7 times, Allah, I seek your protection from the pain or the harm that person is in. Okay. Number 11 or 10, the next one is to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection in the in the sabah wal masa, in the morning. So part of your daily adhkar, when you wake up and you go to sleep, when you're lying in your bed, you're just about to go to sleep, seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection in the day, in the morning, and in the evening. Okay. Second to last is, when should a person seek Allah's protection? In the faz'i min al-nawm, when a person is afraid while they're sleeping. So if you've had a nightmare, so if you've seen something scary or experienced something scary, then a person should run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're asleep and you have a nightmare, you should say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and you can also symbolically turn to your left and spit 3 times as well, because that is shaitan who is trying to confuse you or trying to mess about with your head. Okay. Likewise, final, inshallah, with this we can conclude, is that كما يشرع للمسلم أن يعوذ أولاده, that a person should also seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan and the harms of dunya to their children as well. So your children who may not be able to read these du'as and adhkar and so on and so for themselves, you should do it on their behalf, right? So when you put them to bed, read these du'as, read these adhkar, and you can blow in your hands and you can wipe your hands over your children as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps them safe, because there's lots of harm out there, and harm sometimes could afflict your own children. So we find that hadith an Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعوذ الحسن والحسين, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to sit with his grandsons Al-Hasan al-Hussein, and he used to do that. He used to recite these du'as on the children, on his hands, and then he used to wipe it over Al-Hasan al-Hussein. Now, ويقول إن أباكما كان يعوذ بها إسماعيل وإسحاق. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he used to say that your fathers, talking to Al-Hasan al-Hussein, meaning your forefathers, they used to do that with their own children. He gave the example that Ismail or Ishaq, that Ibrahim, he used to do this with his own children, with Ismail and Ishaq. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة ومن كل عين لامة. Oh Allah, أعوذ بكلمات الله, that I seek refuge with these words, these complete powerful words, من كل شيطان, that I seek your protection from every devil that is out there that wants to harm me or wants to harm my children. وَمِن كُلِّ عَيْنٍ لَامَّةٍ, and from every eye that wants to cause me harm. Okay, so note that as well. That's very interesting. Yeah, that every eye that wants to cause me harm. So people can look at you in jealousy. Okay, people can look at you with evil thoughts. And sometimes those things can occur. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-aynu haqq. Now, when people look at you with spite and jealousy, and I mean, we call this nazar, yeah, that things, how that happens, Allahu Alam. Okay, we don't have the answer to that. But we know from this hadith, and we know from other hadith, that it is possible. That is why, if anybody does feel somebody is looking at them or something is good in their life, and somebody may be giving them the evil eye, you should say, MashaAllah, because we know that will protect you. Okay, so if somebody say something positive to you, you should cover that up with mashallah, or get them to say mashallah, okay, to keep you safe. So here we find the Prophet would do that with Al-Hasan and Hussein, asking the protection of Allah from any harm that shaitan will bring, and even if it is the jealous or the evil eyes, then we seek Allah's protection with that as well. Okay. No. Okay, with that, I think we've covered all the main topics when it comes to the isti'adha. Okay, and just concluding last few words, inshallah ta'ala, that so we looked today, to summarize, we had a look at al-isti'ana, and we said al-isti'ana is to seek help. Okay, isti'ana is to seek help, but we can only seek help from Allah. There's no harm in seeking help from people where they are able to do so. But where they're not able to do so, then that would be considered to be shirk. So we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't to any graves or any people or so on and so forth. We don't do that. Unless the person, like we said, is alive and has the ability to help you. So then we turned into al-isti'adha. Al-isti'adha is running away from something dangerous towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and that thing could be external, people, shaitan and others trying to harm you. It could be even yourself. As we said, our thoughts and our mind, that we turn to Allah. You're tempted to do something wrong, you say, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim, what am I doing? Right? And you sort yourself out. And this is normal, it happens. Okay, so it's not that just because you may have evil thoughts doesn't mean that you're an evil person. The mind wanders. Okay, and we have to keep that in control. Okay, one of the things, subhanAllah, which is really amazing about psychology, and psychology, a very interesting subject, and the modern science is discovering this more and more, is that the mind, it's constantly working. Yeah, bear this in mind, what I'm going to say now, right? The mind is constantly working. The mind doesn't stop. And the way the mind works, they say mind mapping. The way the mind works is that it has memories of things. And when it has memories of things, it connects the dots. It connects up dots. And when it connects up dots, it comes to a conclusion. And sometimes the mind will connect up dots that are not right. And if it's not right, you'll come to a conclusion that's not right. So sometimes you have to stop your mind, right? So, for example, a person may have seen somebody, let's say, so an individual lay out at night, seen them in a particular place, heard some bad news about them. The mind will start to connect up the dots. They said they saw her, I saw her, they said they did this, therefore she must be a bad woman. The mind will just free flow and it'll start connecting things up. If you don't stop your mind, and that's why the mind is dangerous. That's why we have so many things now. We've got, how the mind works, right? So if you don't stop the mind going in that negative direction, it will bring you to a negative conclusion. That's why we have to say the way to cut it off is A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Yeah, you've seen somebody and your mind is telling you, oh, that's a bad person. Oh, he must have done this, or she must have done that. And you've got to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I don't know, I've got no proof of that. Cut it off. Those thoughts got to be cut off. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, what did he tell us? He said, always have husnul dhan billah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa husnul dhan bin nas. If you want to be successful and keep this mind safe, because this mind is dangerous, wallahi. If you want to keep it safe, is have positive thoughts about Allah. Now, no matter what happens in my life, Always think good of Allah. You failed an exam, don't say, Allah, why you do that to me? No. You say, okay, hey, maybe there was some wisdom in that. You were late to work, you were late to do something, whatever happened, don't think, oh my God, Allah hates me, I'm always late. No, think good of Allah. That maybe you were on time and you would have had a car crash. So Allah delayed you. Think good of Allah. And likewise, when it comes to people, I'm not saying be foolish, we're not foolish, but if you know a person's generally a good person, think good of them. If they turned up late, don't think, oh, he did that on purpose, right? If the person, forgot something intentionally, don't think, oh, he did it on purpose. He's trying to take the mick out of me. Don't think that. Think all is positive. Make an excuse for that person. But at the same time, we've got to remember that the Prophet also said that a Muslim is not bitten by the same hole twice. So if somebody does mess about with you and somebody does try to, take advantage of you, okay, maybe they got away with it the first time, but not the second time. Yeah, that's a wise Muslim. And Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala an, he said, "Lastu bil khibbi wala yakhda'uni al khibbu." He said, I am not a person who deceives people, but I am not one of those that a deceitful person can deceive me. And that's the best way. That we are straight. We're not deceptive with our words, but if somebody tries to play games with you, you stop them put them in their place. Keep the mind straight and clean. All right, with that, alhamdulillah, I think we've come to the end. It is 10:30. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. You can write your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hands and you can, your mics are open, you can ask. Saqaba, you've got your hand up waiting very patiently. You want to start the question, inshallah?
Assalamu alaikum, Ustadh. Yes, please. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for that. Very interesting. Also, firstly, before I ask my question, I just wanted to say Jazakallah khair for your tip last week on prayer and thinking your prayer is getting very big. It's really helped me, alhamdulillah. So thank you for that.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah accept, inshallah.
Ameen. Well, yeah. Also, your question on thoughts was very interesting, Ustadh, because I've been looking into thoughts and neuroscience a bit more recently. I came across very recently a very, very new, very interesting concept, which I haven't come across before, which is where if a person has an unmet emotional need, the brain can create a scenario that actually fulfills that need. So when we talk about shahwat and desires, I thought that was really, really interesting. And actually, my question is related to that somewhat. And I think you might have answered it partially already. So in Surah Ibrahim, Allah Ta'ala says in ayah number 22, that where Shaitan will say, I only whisper to them. So I'm trying to understand, is there a differentiator between our own thoughts and the whisperings of Shaitan? Or doesn't it matter? We just need to say A'udhu Billah? Because I think the strategies for managing the two might be different.
Okay. So you brought in two things there. So the whispering of Shaitan. So of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that human beings are created pure, right? So we're created pure. But we're also created weak. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. We're also created weak to temptations, weak to whispering. So the Shaitan, he drops these ideas into our heads, and then either we develop them or we kick them out. And we're responsible for that. Yeah, we're responsible for that. So likewise, the environment that we're in, okay? If a person is listening to filth and then they end up doing filth, they can't blame Allah for that or blame Shaitan. You're the one who's put yourself in that environment. You fed yourself those thoughts and then you acted upon them. So you are responsible for what you put inside, because what you put inside will eventually come out in your body. So the human being by default is pure, but the environment, Shaitan, is the one that causes a person to start thinking or behaving differently. And then it's up to you on whether you act upon it or you don't. Okay? And thoughts you're not responsible for, unless you purposely put those thoughts in your head. Thoughts you're not responsible for. But the azima, and they make a note of this, some people don't understand it, the azima you are responsible for. What do I mean by azima? Azima means it's a thought, but you plan to fulfill that thought. You had it in your mind to do that thing. You never got around to doing it, but you wanted to do it. You're responsible for that. Okay, you're responsible for that. Like a person, let's say, for example, they planned to rob a bank and they were on their way to rob the bank, and then something happened and they didn't do it. You're sinful for that because you had the intention to do so. And the proof of that is the two men with the swords. قاتل والمقتول, and the Prophet said, Al-Qatil wal-Maqtul kilahuma fi an-nar, both of them in the fire. And the companion said, Ya Rasulullah, we understand the killer, why he's in the fire, but what about the one who got killed? The Prophet said, if he had the ability, he would have killed him. But he didn't do it, but he's in the nar. Why? Azima, because it was not just a thought, but it was a developed thought. Not one that if they had the opportunity, they would have implemented. So the general thoughts we're not responsible for, but those that we allow to develop and we want to actually put into action, we are responsible for those thoughts. Okay, so that's the whisper. The other element of what you mentioned, very important, how the brain, you mentioned how the brain looks at thoughts, right, and how it picks up patterns. This goes even further back, a separate discussion, but things like trauma, okay, things that a person has experienced in their childhood. So they've experienced certain things, so they have images, sounds, experiences in their head from what's happened when they were children, and then when they grow up and they see something which resembles that, it kickstarts all of that all over again, because the mind's connected the dots. Right? So whether that's lying or cheating or mistreatment or whatever it is, if somebody does something similar to what they experienced when they were kids, the mind connects up the dots that that guy's going to do the same thing to me. Yeah, or I'm going to experience the same thing to him, but it might not be true. So the mind is very powerful. Right? Somebody had up.
Ustadh?
Yeah.
After you, sister, if you've got a question.
So go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Shall I ask?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone.
so Ustad, as you said, thoughts, you're not responsible for your thoughts unless you're thinking something purposely. But I thought you're not even responsible for purposely thoughts unless you do qawli and fi'li action. Is that correct or not?
Well, it
So like,
depends, but it depends on what the thought is. If it's a sin, then and you've purposely brought about that, then it could be sinful. So I'm just saying, for example.
so for example, a person wants to commit a sin, however, just thinking in the head, but is not doing qawli and fi'li, but it's just thinking and then just quit the idea, just thinking. So would you be responsible for that?
So thinking of it is not the sin, but I'm saying what the azima basically means is that they've thought about the sin and they want to do the sin, but they're unable to do the sin for a reason. Then you're responsible. But if it's just the thought that's floating in somebody's head, you're not responsible for that.
Jazakallah khair. One more question, Ustad. As you said, for the bathroom, when you read, we must read dua, a'udhu sorry, min al-khubusi wal khaba'is one.
Yep.
So what if a person forgets it and then goes to bathroom? Can you read in your heart inside bathroom, or you're not allowed to?
You can read in your heart, but not out loud. Yeah, so you can read it out. You can read in your heart, but not out loud.
Allowed to read inside, even in your heart.
If you can make the dua in your heart, that's fine. But you can't say out loud. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair.
And by the way, when we say bathroom, this is also when we talk about khala is the specific place where you do a number one or a number two. Okay, that's what is known as the bathroom. Like, for example, if you're going to have a shower, that's not a bathroom. Okay, but now of course I know the toilet and the bathroom, everything is right next to each other. So you're best to say it in one go. But traditionally, the toilet was something else, and the shower was something else. So what this guy is specifically talking about is the toilet.
And Sheikh, we can came out as well and recite the dua, if it is possible for us.
If it's possible for you to step out and say you can do that, but I'm just assuming that maybe it's too late. Then otherwise you'd end up harming yourself physically if you did that. Okay. Right. Was there another hand somewhere? Tiffany. So I'll come back to you. Tiffany, got a question? Oh, she's gone.
Oh no, sorry. I think when the sister was talking, because you was talking about thoughts. I think what I was just thinking was, I think it's because the intention is there obviously for you to do something evil, whether it happens or it doesn't, and that's maybe why the sin is attached to it, because of the intention. Like, when you think I'm going to do something bad, it's an intention, isn't it?
Exactly. So, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Somebody may think like, oh, alcohol's haram, but then starts thinking, what does it taste like? Just has that thought in his head, like, what does it taste? They're not sinful for that. But if the person says, I'm going to go and taste it. right? I'm going to just have a little sip and taste it, right? So they've made the intention to do that thing, but they don't actually do it. They're sinful for that. That's the point I'm making. But if somebody just sat there and said, what does it taste like? Is it nice? Is it sour? Is it sweet? They are not sinful for that. Okay.
Ustadh,
Yeah.
I want to ask you something about language and words. For instance, we can say in dua something like Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min shururi nafsi, right? And that makes sense, right? Allah is known as muqallib al-qulub, so it obviously makes sense to replace nafsi with qalbi in the same dua, shururi qalbi. But what about things like the ruh and the fitra? Are they considered to be pure? So it doesn't make sense to say shururi ruhi or shururi fitrati, or can we say that? Do we say that? Does it make sense or not? Basically,
so not from the fitra. No, the fitra is pure, but sometimes the word ruh and nafs they're used interchangeably. So
right,
you can, but it's best to stick to the prophetic dua. Stick to the prophetic dua. Yeah.
Yes, of course, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just that like sometimes when you're learning something or you're studying something, you're revising something, grammar and so on. It's fun to mess about with words just to change them around and see what happens. That's all. And dua it's nice sometimes that dua is spontaneous rather than just only what's in the hadith of the Quran. Though of course those are by far the best duas.
But yes, my point is that if you got a dua in which the dua mentions nafs, then there's no need to say ruh. Just stick to nafs because you got. But if it's an independent dua that doesn't have any of them, then say what you come to. That's fine.
Right. Thank you, Ustadh.
All right. Who else? Anybody else got their hand up? No one. Okay. If you have a question, feel free to ask. I'm just gonna read some of the questions here. Ahmed got a question. Is waswas from Iblis himself or the shayateen he sent to each person? So the waswas is from the shayateen that have been sent. So each one of us, we've got a shaitan whispering away. And then we also have shayateen for certain things. For example, the bathroom, khubuthi wal khaba'ith. Then we also have the shayateen for salah, that when you start praying, they come to trying to distract you. So there are shayateen that do have assigned job descriptions. And at the head of them is the Iblis himself. Okay. Aisha Ali says, how can one tell those thoughts are from shaitan, i.e. the dots? So that's a good question, Aisha, that how do we know that the thoughts are from shaitan? We don't know. But what I would say is that if there is a thought that is a floating thought with no evidence, it's best to leave it. Okay, it's best to leave it. If there's something which is factual, clear, then we don't ignore that. Of course, we don't ignore that. So, for example, if you've seen, like somebody said, the murder's taking place, and then you see somebody's carrying a weapon, and then you see blood in their hands, those dots are right. That's actually leading you in the right direction. But if it's not something like that, and it's just pure thoughts, then those things should be tried to be left aside. Right? Try to stay away from those thoughts. Okay.
Ustadh?
All right, yeah.
May I suggest that, for instance, what we were talking about, the thoughts that are rewardable and the thoughts that are punishable, is that, for instance, you have a thought, an azima, you decide to do it, and then circumstances outside your control stop you, right? So you're sinful for that. You didn't stop yourself for Allah's sake, right? But then afterwards, you realized you were going to commit a sin, and circumstances stopped you. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arranged for you to be prevented from committing that sin. Then if you praise and thank Allah and you're grateful for being prevented from committing that sin, then you can get some reward back, as it were.
So that would be considered a form of tawbah. Okay, so if, for example, you were going to commit a sin and then Allah stopped you for somehow not commit that sin, and you acknowledge that Allah stopped you from it, and you say you thank Allah for that and you make tawbah, then that is obviously something which is praiseworthy. That's a form of tawbah. So yeah, alhamdulillah. So I think yep, Aisha, yep, you got a question? Yeah?
Ustadh, it's Bushra. In Ramadan, is it just the smaller shaitan that are chained up, or is it Iblis as well?
It's a good question.
And because in Ramadan, you might still have inclinations to do something or distractions in your prayer. So,
Yeah, so the way the scholars answer that question, I'm not sure exactly which of the shayateen are locked up, all of them or the small ones, but the shayateen are locked up. But what we know is that some people say is Ramadan is here, but yet people are still sinning. And the answer to that question, the shaykh, they say, is that if you've been sinning throughout the year, you're not going to expect overnight to just change into an angel. You're not just going to change overnight. So your bad habits will follow through into Ramadan. So if you're somebody who doesn't concentrate in their prayer, when they got into Ramadan, that's also going to happen in Ramadan to a lesser degree, but it will still happen. That's not because of the shaitan whispering, but that's because that's what you've accustomed yourself to. So that is why the Prophet would talk about Rajab, Sha'ban, and Ramadan, because then he would say, get yourself into training so that you can start to get rid of bad habits. So by entering Ramadan, you're not going to automatically become a great person straight away. You have to prepare yourself. All right. Was it anyone? So, Aisha, do you have a question?
I was just going to ask Ustadh, giving sadaqah with the intention of protection. So the intention is for protection, or when like someone's ill or something, that's okay, right?
Absolutely. And so that's one of the means that we spoke about. One of the ways to protect yourself from shaitan and also to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance is by doing good deeds. So the more good deeds you do, the closer you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the further away the shaitan is. So the best way to keep shaitan away is to keep doing good deeds. Okay. Barakallahu fiqh. All right, with that, let's stop then, inshallah. We'll pause there. Nahid, Jazakallah khairan, Barakallahu fiqh. Inshallah, we'll see you all next week then, inshallah, with the next way of manifesting and looking at the Tawheed and practice.
Sheikh, we will be carry on in Ramadan as well or not?
Oh, mashallah, good question. We've still got 2 weeks. Let's think about that. I didn't even think about that. Let's think about that, and we will see. I don't have a problem carrying on because I think iftar will take place.
There's many people is happy because everything going to close. That we are doing that Ravi but still we need really some nasiha, something, it should be really some lessons like mashallah. Allah make
Okay,
you
inshallah, everyone we can think about that, and then next week we can discuss it because I'm not sure even what time the Tarawih is. I haven't even looked at it in detail, but let's see what we can do, and I don't mind. We can carry on, inshallah. Okay.
But on the other hand, may I point out, sisters, may I point out that Ramadan is known as the month of the Quran, and even Imam Malik rahimahullah, he used to stop teaching hadith and so on during Ramadan so that his students would concentrate on the Quran.
Okay, so I appreciate that. So that's a good point. So,
he's a Imam Malik.
Yeah, inshallah, next week we will.
We are less than so down. We need anyway. Sheikh can ask everyone because we need something to carry on, feed ourselves, something really like the Sheikh mashallah saying. Then it's a help to us to on the straight path as well. Reading a Quran, we can't read the Quran. We can't understand 100% Quran and tafsir really. But we have to understand there's some talk as well, little bit. Anyway, it's up to Sheikh and everyone.
No, inshallah, that's fine, Nancy. So if we do carry on, those who want to join can join. Those who want to take a little break can take a break. The options are there for everyone, so everyone can.
That's right, Sheikh. This is a good idea.
We will talk about it, inshallah, more next week. I will think about it as well because I didn't really think about it in detail. But until then, everyone, till next week, inshallah ta'ala, let us practice what we've taken today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us people who practice what we preach. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us of our shortcomings, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us.
Sorry, sorry, Sheikh, try to write that dua, but it's the mistake. I can't write it properly. I'm enough say it's a mistake. Sorry about it.
No problem. I think what you've used is because you used the Urdu alphabet. That's why. But your dua is correct. I can see it. All right, inshallah. We'll stop there, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.